Hey everyone, it's EmJems here, and today we're going to take a look at the Life is Strange 2 official teaser that is just being released today. I have a few thoughts on this, so yeah, let's take a look.
Try that crumpet shop off Post Alley.
Thanks, 303. Copy.
Dispatch, I need to run a license check on that 10.
So the first thing that I want to mention here is that we can see the date is October 28th, 2016, and from Captain Spirit, we know that the date then was December 2016. So this actually takes place approximately 2 months before the events of Captain Spirit. And the other thing I see here is that the officer's name is Matthews K. So I don't think that we know a Matthews. That name doesn't seem familiar. The other thing here is I don't recognize this neighborhood at all, so it's hard to know exactly where this is taking place. But it doesn't look like, Arcadia Bay or Beaver Creek, which is where Captain Spirit took place.
Shit. Officer Matthews, I've got a 1010 in progress.
A 1010, from what other people have been saying, stands for a fight in progress.
1452 Lewis Avenue. I'm gonna need backup.
Copy that. All backup available.
So if you couldn't hear what they just said there was a character that said, I didn't do anything, in like a pretty scared, panicky voice, and then the officer said that everything's going to be all right. So I have a few thoughts and theories on what we just saw here. Obviously, this was caused by some kind of supernatural power. So in Captain Spirit, a lot of people were guessing that it was the neighbor kid that has the powers and not Chris. So people did some digging into the game files and found out that the neighbor kid's name is Daniel, and we know that his older brother's name is Steven, from Chris asking if Steven could come over to help with the treehouse, right? So my theory for this is that maybe Daniel and Steven originally lived in this town here that we're seeing, because this took place approximately 2 months before Captain Spirit. So if Daniel is the one with these powers, maybe, it doesn't seem like he has a lot of control over them. So maybe he was getting into some kind of fight with his brother Steven, and he couldn't control his powers. Maybe this is why the cops were called in the first place. And when the officer came and approached, he probably would have gone to Steven originally, just logically, because he's older and probably seemed like he would be the threat. And maybe we heard Steven saying, I didn't do anything. So my thought is that maybe Daniel felt threatened by the officer approaching his brother, and this triggered his powers to happen, because it doesn't seem like he really has much control over them. Or maybe he wanted to protect his brother and that triggered his powers happening. So obviously after this, how could they possibly explain what's happened, right? So they would have to protect themselves, leave this town. So my thought is that they left this town and they went to Beaver Creek, where Chris lives, became his neighbor. And I just want to go forward a little bit to see the end of the trailer here.
53, send backup immediately.
So we see this kind of beat up backpack, and this is what we saw in the first teaser trailer. That kind of looks like a runaway's backpack. So that's kind of my thought, is that maybe Daniel and Steven are runaways. They're on the run. Because if these sort of events keep happening where Daniel can't control his powers, then it would make sense they have to keep moving from town to town to escape the cops and stay safe, protect themselves. So I think that, yeah, they probably just recently moved, because I don't remember seeing anything in Captain Spirit about how long the neighbors have been there. So who knows, right? They could have just moved, we don't really know. And I think that's why when we see Daniel and Steven in the backyard after Chris falls from the treehouse and is, saved by however he's saved, right? They don't seem surprised at all. They just smile and wave and act like everything's okay. So I think that's why a lot of people thought that Daniel was the one who had the powers, and that would make sense in this scenario if they had gone out there. So it's interesting to think, if Daniel didn't have much control over his powers here. Maybe, you know, in the 2 months or so that time has passed between now and Captain Spirit, maybe Daniel developed a little bit of control, so maybe he purposefully saved Chris. Or, you know, he saw Chris falling and was scared, and that triggered saving him. So it's hard to know whether, you know, the powers are random or if maybe they're triggered by intense emotions, so feeling threatened, feeling fear, those sorts of things. That's kind of, you know, what I'm thinking. I also think it's interesting to compare this sort of situation to the character of Max, because when Max got her powers, I mean, she had like instant control over them, right? Which I guess for gameplay purposes, like I understand, but it's also a little bit unrealistic, right? She just kind of knew that she would just put up her hand and she could just reverse time, and yeah, like she couldn't go back too far, but you know, she just knew how to do it, right? She had total control immediately. So I think it would be really cool to play a character who doesn't have that immediate control. Maybe we have to work on developing it. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. It'd be really interesting story-wise. Maybe our decisions kind of come into play here. And, you know, maybe our decisions influence how that control over the powers is developed. So yeah, that's my theory for Life is Strange 2. Obviously, we're going to get some more information on August 20th. Apparently, all will be revealed, so super excited for that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, what are your theories? Who do you think the protagonist is going to be? Do you think it will be Daniel? How do you think Chris is going to play into the story? And what else do you think that we might see in Life is Strange 2? And the big question that I'm wondering is, when exactly is it going to take place? I don't think, you know, it makes sense for it to take place 2 months before the events of Captain Spirit, because I think that this trailer was just a way of giving us a bit of context, or making us, you know, question things more. I don't really know, but I do think it's going to take place after the events of Captain Spirit. I just don't know how far after. So I hope it's quite a bit in the future. I would much rather play as, you know, a teenager or a young adult, and maybe by then, you know, if it is Daniel that has the powers, maybe he'll have a lot more control over them. So yeah, we're just gonna have to wait a couple more weeks to find out. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on August 20th for the next trailer. Bye everybody!